Hi students, it's Arthur, and the subject for this module is cover letters. And aren't you excited? So today we're going to be diving into the world of cover letters, those annoying little letters that stand between you and your dream job. And we need to think of them like less glamorous but a super important sidekick to your resume. So yes, just like Batman needs Robin, your resume needs a cover letter. And what we're going to cover today is not just your skills, but your superpowers. How do you save the day? And it's also going to be like crafting a custom suit. Every cover letter is going to be tailored to fit the job you're applying for perfectly. Otherwise, why write it? This is your chance to make a personal connection with your future employer, to really go beyond the bullet points of your resume and to show what you've got in the personality to match your skills. And in case you're wondering, yes, all of this, including this goofy script and the images, were generated using ChatGPT and DALL-E, which are both by OpenAI. I thought I'd just change it up a little bit, since you can't get the genuine benefit of my horrible sense of humor. My family will definitely tell you it's very, very narrow in its specificity and who might like it. Anyway, so there is an ongoing rhetoric online that cover letters are really just dumb. And like this guy kind of quotes an ancient relic, which I think is funny. But you know what? That's good for us, because if he's not applying because of this requirement, that's good for you. That's one less competitor for you. And for me, as the hiring manager, I wouldn't want to hire the slacker anyway. So the fact that a cover letter is required might be a good way of weeding out. And actually, let's move on to that. So why write cover letters? Are cover letters required? Should I write one? Why do companies request them? Why do companies not request them? Right? So all of this stuff kind of comes into play here. So why do some companies want them? Well, first of all, some companies want them because they think it's an opportunity to get to know the candidates better, what their motivations or passions are, to get a little bit of a sense of their personality on top of the resume. And that also helps us to understand the potential fit from a culture standpoint. It's just more data for us as hiring managers and recruiters to see if you might be a great fit for the organization. In addition to that, it's going to demonstrate effort and professionalism. And that last piece with respect to communications. Again, this is another example of showing how well you can communicate in a written form, and on top of your resume, it gives them just evidence of how well you can communicate. And again, the more specific we are, the more targeted it is, the more that the person will likely find that your documents are of higher quality. And our objective is for that hiring manager to say, or the recruiter to say, you know what, I really need to talk to this person. And then the final thing, actually, weirdly enough, cover letters now are starting to be used just for that guy on that previous slide, right? He said thought it's an ancient relic. We will sometimes use cover letters strictly as a knockout. We may not read them, but if we require them, we know that we're going to filter out the people who are not interested, and maybe in the spray and pray approach, because it's just a way of reducing the amount of resumes that we're going to have to review at the end of the day. So why do companies say no? Generally, it's because they don't want to read them. Also, some companies have reduced them because it can introduce bias in some cases. So companies said, you know what, it's better just not to have them. And then some companies really do truly believe it is an ancient relic, an outdated practice. And now with the advent of AI, they're so easy to write. That's another reason for companies to say, you know what, just don't bother. So should you write a cover letter? Unless the posting explicitly says no, I recommend that you do. And if you do, what should you include? So here it's about really do your research. Find out what the company does, make sure you understand that. Look at the job description very carefully. Take a look at their mission and values, their culture, their financials. You should be doing this anyway, but this is information you're going to use to help you craft that excellent cover letter. But most importantly, we're going to talk about your superpowers or your value proposition. Why you? Why should they select you? And then what else? Make sure you always show interest and enthusiasm, that you show your passion for the role. Always customize it, as I've said. And then, because it is an example of your communications, make sure you don't have any grammar or spelling mistakes. Use AI, use Grammarly to help you write better. Also, don't expect that AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, and all these other tools like Claude and etc., don't expect them that they're going to write very well. They tend to write okay, grammatically speaking, but it's not perfect. So between the Word document and a tool like Grammarly, you'll end up writing far, far better. And most importantly, of course, this is an opportunity to differentiate yourself. It's an opportunity for you to hopefully rise to the top of the candidate list so that you get picked for that conversation, which is the objective of your resume and cover letter, is to get the conversation. All right. So when we write cover letters, there has to be a clear purpose to your message, and it must demonstrate why, as I've said, that you are the best candidate for the job, not that you're interested. Again, chance to differentiate yourself, show your passion and interest, and start to build a relationship with the hiring team and manager. Because this is an opportunity to show your personality a little bit, you can start a little bit of rapport building indirectly. And of course, this is another example of your written communication skills in practice. And you know what? This cannot be done with a cover letter template or generic language. So it needs to come from you. It needs to be authentic. And now we're going to talk about how to put all of that together in a good quality cover letter. So let's take input from some industry professionals on what's important and how to showcase yourself. So first of all, you want a clear introduction about how you came across this specific opportunity. And with each of these slides, there's some example text in here that you can kind of plagiarize. So we've got some more examples at the end of this presentation as well, including in the module resources. There's another, just a significant amount of resources you have there, from examples, articles, templates, everything, videos that will give you more information if you want to learn how to write a cover letter well. The next is how you're qualified, and that is going to be specifically here talking about your skills and experiences. And we know you may not have a job that's directly related to the role that you're looking to get coming out of college. But again, it's transferable skills. Think about the skills that you have and how they can apply relevantly to the role that you're interested in. We're focusing here on how you can add value. The next is, of course, why you. We need to connect the dots for them. We need to use real-life examples of how you've been successful in the past. We need to show the skills you've learned and that are relevant for the job. Make sure you read the job description very carefully and you know something about the company, and do your research so that you can customize this to the role. Where a lot of people fall down is they'll write a generic cover letter, and as Robert Fitz says in this, if it's just a generic cover letter, it's actually going to work against you instead of for you. So if you're going to put the effort in, customize it, make it work for you. Don't just check the box. And then closing is extremely critical. And most people will kind of put a very bland, generic, vanilla closing. I really believe you should be more proactive even than what's here, and take the lead to reach out. But a good call to action is to encourage the person to reach out. I just think we perhaps can be a bit more aggressive in our approach, and I prefer to be much more aggressive in my style. But you need to make sure you do what's comfortable for you. If you do decide to reach out and you make mention of that in this note, make sure you do actually follow through. That is really, really critical. So let's start thinking about the elements of the cover letter itself. First of all, it's the format. So we talked about customizing the cover letter, and the other thing you can do is, and we'll show you that in the example here, is the format is use your resume as the template. You're just going to remove the resume information and then use that blank page with your name and contact information at the top, and then we'll start writing using that. That'll help your branding consistency as well, of course. And we'll show you that here in an example in a second, as I said. In terms of content, this is an example job description, and I think it's a great way of building the elements of your cover letter. So you use the job description essentially as your template as to what to focus on. So let's take a look at this job description. So you can see in these little call outs, going kind of from top to bottom, we're going to include things in the cover letter that are actually called out in the job description. So this is our template. This is our giving us direction as to how to write a great cover letter. So, we talk about the requirements, in terms of degree. So I am pursuing a BS in business administration with supply chain concentration. Looks a strong team player and committed to teamwork. And then you say to yourself, I need to include experiences that involve teamwork. Strong analytical and problem-solving skills, right? You can talk about if you've participated in the Prague Consulting Project. Highly recommend you do that. You can include that. So you kind of get a sense here of, highlighting key areas of the cover letter that you want to focus on that show that you are qualified for the role. Other things to think about: the file name, the convention, email, or attachment. We'll talk more about that very shortly. Cover letter tone, right? So you kind of have an idea what you want to say. Now, does it need to be really formal? Should it be more conversational? Well, really, it depends. Don't forget that a person's reading this. So think of your audience, but don't sweat it too much. Don't think too hard. Conversational is going to be fine much of the time, in my opinion, but the style of the organization has to be considered. So this graphic kind of shows you things to think about. When you should use a formal tone, typically larger, older firms, more established, corporate roles as opposed to site-based roles. And then, of course, if you're in academia or research, those tend to heavily favor more formal tones. Conversational tones, basically the opposite of everything you just heard. Smaller firms, startups, they certainly will have likely or more informal cultures. Site-based roles, typically those sites tend to be much more casual in their approach too. Creative roles, and then if you're sending this because of a networking connection, somebody that you're applying through a referral or someone you've met personally, that conversational tone might fit a little bit better, saying that you actually were introduced by someone in the organization that the person or the recruiter or the hiring manager knows. So again, that might lead you more down a conversational path than a formal one. So what's next, right? So we got to think about how, do we write a cover letter in an email or attach it? What should I write when I send my resume by email? What's the best subject line? What's the best greeting to use? So let's go through some of this information. Part of the answer is related to how you're submitting your info. So basically, if the company asks for a cover letter, you're going to follow everything that they ask for, and you're not even going to worry about the rest of my comments here. Just follow the directions. But if you're submitting to a portal or you're going to send your information by email, this will kind of give you the first step in kind of where to go. So as I said, follow the instructions if it's a job posting. And then otherwise, whatever your point of contact is with the organization, find out what the best way is to send it. Send it to email to a person or to actually perhaps go to their portal, and they might direct you there and they'll just say follow the instructions. So basically you can see the two directions you can go here. So do you write a cover letter in an email or attach it? So if you've got some options and you're still not quite sure because there aren't clear directions, if you push me to answer, I'm going to say an attachment. So you'll send an email with an attachment. But the answer is to use either, not both. So don't take your cover letter, copy and paste it into the email, and then send that same cover letter with the same text as an attachment. That's not good practice. So if it's going to be an email, write the same text in the email that's in the cover letter, except you're not going to put the cover letter in there as an attachment. Obviously, you're not going to use the header information, the address, and those kinds of things, but the main body of the cover letter will be the same. So if it's done by attachment, you're going to want to attach it as a PDF or a Word document. Again, if you don't have any directions, I suggest in this case that you send it as a PDF. PDF will keep the formatting the way it is, and also it's just a bit more of a protected format, which is better for these kinds of things, generally speaking. But only these two options, Word document or PDF, and as I said, most of the time it's going to be PDF would be the choice. And then you can use something like this example text as a thought starter for what to put in the email body with your attachment. You can kind of look at this as just sort of a mini introduction / mini cover letter, right? I'm enthusiastic to apply for the position. You talk about the role that you want. You may mention the role job reference if there is a code that's given to you for this particular job for this as well. And we'll show you how to use that in an example here we have in a minute. And then my attached resume and cover letter share my qualifications and readiness for the role. Thank you for considering my application. I'm eager to discuss how I can bring value. Again, I would prefer a little stronger call to action, but that's just me. What's the best subject line for a job application email? We may be getting into the weeds a little bit, but all this stuff will be really important, not only for how you present yourself to an organization, but also how to help keep yourself organized with all of the contacts that you're making with an organization. So the clarity on the email subject line will make the emails easier to find. Clarity on how to name these files will make it easier for you to keep track of what you sent as well. So all of this kind of adds up, and the specificity will help you, trust me, as you try to manage the multitude of jobs you're going to be applying to. So the ingredients for that we have here, the elements are for the employer's benefit, but again, this will also help you organize your documents or repurpose them, because you'll take a document and basically open it, rewrite it using most of the same information to customize it for the next role. So you can repurpose your resume, you can repurpose cover letters, you can repurpose emails, everything that you do. Keep these as good examples. Once you find a good tone and a good structure, just reuse it, just customize it, and then reuse it. And then again, from a file name point of view, make sure that you keep it organized. So you should call it something like, Smith, Bill Smith cover letter, XYZ company, something like that. Just to make it something that's obvious. It's good for the receiver or whoever receives the email, because they'll know it's your name, it's a cover letter, and obviously it's directed towards their company. So it'll help them in saving the files. It'll help you in organizing yourself. But the subject line here is going to be, the role title, job application, separator, job reference, if there is one, a code or whatever that is for the company, and then your name and the employer name. So the example here you can see, business analyst job application, BA123, that's not a course, that's just a job reference code, your name, and then the company name that you're applying to. So now that we're starting now, think about getting into the content. So first of all, it's the greeting we're going to use. In order of preference, we're going to address the hiring manager or lead recruiter by name. If you don't have this information, you need to do your research. That's key. It's not always easy to find it, but normally it's not that tough either. So putting a little effort in here and getting it to the right person might make a difference in terms of you standing out in the process. So a couple of things you can do is ask the employer's HR department over the phone or via email if you have an email address. And if they won't give you the name, ask for the title of the hiring manager. They should be able to give you that. Then you can take some of this information and maybe even search LinkedIn for the company and use it and use their role title and keywords to see if you can sift through the organization and its leadership team to find out who might be the hiring manager. The other thing you can do is if you've done some informational interviewing, just ask your sources. And when you're doing an informational interview, just to say, who is the leader for this particular department that I might be working for if I were to get to join your company? There are lots of ways you can get this information. So in order of preference, you're going to be addressing the hiring manager or the lead recruiter by name. And then, of course, if you don't have that, if you've exhausted your resources, or maybe you just don't have time, but I would encourage you to make the time, then you can use sort of these stock ones. Don't put to who it may concern. That's not nice. If you're not sure about the sir or madam or not comfortable, then put hiring manager or the talent acquisition team. Those generic ones usually will work with no problem. So now we'll start taking a look at the template. So this is a template that's in our UNCW resources. And again, I'll refer you to our resources for all the typical things that you get from the resources that I put together for you. In addition to that, there's a very interesting, but yet maybe very annoying video from Madeline Mann. She's one of the influencers that I refer to in this class a few times. through the class. She does usually very good content, and I say usually. She's become a real influencer and more focused on generating money than helping people, I think, and that's just my humble opinion. But this 6-minute video that is I call it the dud or stud. You'll see it if you do watch the video. You'll see why I do that. Call it that. But it's a good way of kind of getting a little bit of a different perspective. And she has a good model, which more or less we're following in this as well. Notice this looks like a resume without the resume text. As I said, use your personal branding. Take your resume and just kind of delete the resume content and then start writing your letter. And let's start with how to address the cover letter. So again, we talked about finding the name. So make sure you put that name in there, or you use the options that we spoke about. Going through the content, the first paragraph, this is going to be your introduction and why you're writing. You're going to talk about your passion for the organization and the work involved, and make your comments as specific as possible and relevant to the job opportunity that you're applying to. So again, use the job description. You'll also notice here that it's in regards to marketing intern job number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So using the job posting reference, if you find it online, take a look to see if there's a reference number, because it will correspond to the position. And it's good to keep that reference number with all of your documents. It's just a smart way of managing this process for them and for you. The middle paragraphs are going to be about why you, and that's going to be our focus. So this is going to be persuasive language that shows how we're qualified for the role. And what we want to do is we want to support our claims by showcasing things that we've done that will provide evidence to them that we can do the job. This is going to also allow us, because we're going to be speaking in a little bit more informal or formal tone, that we'll be able to introduce perhaps a little bit elements of our personality and our work style, our other traits that are going to add value to the company. The final paragraph really is about reaffirming your interest and excitement about the position and has a call to action. I still prefer a stronger close than what's proposed here in this template, but either way, a call to action is still there. And so in this case, you're eager for the opportunity to schedule for an interview. You're explaining what you want. Thanks for your time and consideration. Proper, gracious ending. Again, I just prefer a little bit of a stronger closing. ChatGPT or generative AI? Absolutely. Let's cover this now. But first of all, as I always say, never copy and paste the AI-generated content for anything, but particularly cover letters. I actually ran across a colleague recently who was hiring for marketing manager positions, and they eliminated, believe it or not, about 25% of the candidates who submitted cover letters. They had required cover letters here in this case, and they did it for this reason. They got about 25% of cover letters that are essentially all written by AI. How do they know that? Because they all looked and sounded very, very similar. And what they did was, and what I'm going to encourage you to do as well, is to use the job description to help you write a targeted cover letter. But what they didn't do was they didn't put it in their own voice. It wasn't their authentic voice. So it sounded just like every other generic AI-generated document, and they eliminated those people immediately. Again, don't be that person. Just do the work. Use it to help you, but don't use it for the final product. So that's going to be key. Using your own authentic voice if you decide to use generative AI. So here's an example prompt. Ideally, you should have a finished resume and a job description to maximize the alignment. So this is an example prompt to use for a cover letter. Talk about what the role is. You're an expert career coach. You're going to write a cover letter using the resume and job description that I provide. The context is I'm an entry-level college graduate, graduating soon. I'll give you these documents. These are the things that you should cover. Why, who you are, highlight how we fit the role, why this company. Okay, and then I like to ask it a question just to make sure it has all the information it needs. It says, do you have any questions before I upload the resume and job description? Again, I like that kind of tone. So the next thing you'll do is you'll upload your resume, copy and paste it, and you'll upload the job description. It usually can tell the difference, but I like to be explicit just to avoid any doubt in that. And then it cranks out this option or this example, right? It even tells you, your name, your address, and all that stuff in a normal letter format. And if you don't like the initial output, ask it to rewrite it, you know. So for instance, in some of these I'll write, it'll be good content, but it won't be a cover letter. It's a cover novel. So I'll ask it to be more concise. And sometimes you may need to redirect it in order to get the right output that you're looking for. So if we take a look at the output here, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with this. You can take a look and see what it looks like, but it basically does exactly what we're looking for, right? Talks about the intro paragraph and why you're interested. The middle paragraph, number 1 here is, and number 3, they basically say why you, and then the close is the thank you and a call to action. And again, can you make the call to action stronger? I certainly think you can. All right. Guess what? We're done. Cover letters are complete. Hope you enjoyed this session and module, and I look forward to talking to you in the next one.